Oh, shit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how we doing today? How is it going? Luke D, welcome to the live stream. I know, throughout the Women's World Championships, I was usually doing my live streams during the day, and now we're doing one a little bit later, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. My name's Everett DeLorme, and today we're going to talk about some volleyball. And of course, we're going to talk about the Women's World Champs wrapping up, so we're going to break it down with, everything that's happened over the past week as I was in the bush camping. I got to watch one of the matches, of the quarterfinal matches live, and then I've just been consuming pretty much everything since then, yesterday and today. So now we're gonna go over it a little bit. We're gonna break it down just a little bit. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing great. I'll have to say, I am a little revitalized after watching the quarterfinals on. The quarterfinals I kind of skimmed through. I watched Japan, Netherlands pretty much live, but then other than that, I missed all of them. And then I think that the semis and two medal matches, the bronze and the gold, were just absolute bangers. So much entertainment all the way through. And we're going to break it all down for you guys. Okay? Okay, now first and foremost, obviously we have to talk about the champions of absolutely everything right now, the dominant country in women's volleyball, and that is Italy. The Italian women, not only are they rocking a 36-match win streak, which is unprecedented in women's volleyball, they are the first team since 2000 to hold both the World Championships and the Olympics. And we'll throw the VNL in there. It's also the same thing. Cuba won the Grand Prix back in 2000 while holding both the World Championships and the Olympics. So big ups to Italy for being the best team in the world. And while it wasn't as dominant as maybe some would have liked, this is a team that knows how to win when it matters, right? You can say that about the semifinals. You can say that about the finals. This is a team that, when it's gut check time, they find themselves. When they need to play, they find themselves. It was an absolute masterclass from this team, and absolutely everything that they did. I mean, if you look at that semifinal against Brazil, just mwah, 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 what a match. Wow, just what an absolute match between Italy and Brazil in the semifinals. I mean, the finals were great against Turkey as well. Don't get me wrong, but there just wasn't that same tension, especially how Turkey dominated the sets that they wanted to. But the absolute domination by Italy over the course of this tournament was really something that we've never seen before. Of course, until the semis and finals where they got pushed to 5, but still, this is hands down the best team in the world, and arguably one of the best teams ever of all time. And now I'm going to break down some of the matches a little bit later on, but I think at first I'm going to break down especially the top 4 teams. So Italy, Turkey, Brazil, and Japan. Now, there's no doubt that the Italian women are the number 1 team in the world right now. And for me, it all really comes down to their depth. And we even saw it in the final. You know, they used 10 of their 14 athletes. The double sub was the most prevalent for them, right? The most impactful double sub I've ever seen when you're bringing Antropova in. I mean, she had 14 points coming in off the bench off the double sub, which is absolutely insane. And this team has the ability to dial it in like nobody's business when they need to. And I was thinking about this, the difference between Italy and Turkey and Japan is that in those tough moments, Italy finds themselves. That's when Italy plays their best. And then furthermore, when you look at in those tough moments, they don't rely on one player. I mean, Egonu is obviously their go-to. Obviously, she's one of the greatest evers. But I thought, you know, her match in the finals was kind of average, maybe even below average. And if you look at her numbers from the finals, it was pretty much the same. I think, let me pull up my stats on it. I mean, she was 3 for 16 with a 0% efficiency in the first. She was 0 for 4 in the second, and then even in the fifth, she didn't score any points. She was 0 for 7 in the seventh. Yeah, 0 for 7 with 2 errors and a minus 29% efficiency. But collectively, they just know how to win. Collectively, they know how to get the job done. And I mean, that's what we saw, especially defensively. 5 of Italy's 14 blocks in the 5 sets came in that fifth set, in the shortest set, right? When, you know, your number 1 player is struggling, Egonu, who's getting the most volume, is absolutely struggling, and yet your team is able to come up with a win by some absolute dominant play at the net. Now, it was pretty much the same against Brazil too. I had said earlier in the week that if Brazil was going to be able to have a chance, that they needed to win that battle at the net and down the middle. And I mean, they pretty much did. 23 blocks, I think it was for Italy or for Brazil in those semifinals, but still Italy able to get past it. And I mean, that semifinal, what a performance by Antropova as well. Coming in off the bench, the way that she did, just absolutely massive. But still, you're able to kind of flip-flop in between Egonu and Antropova. So when you look at Italy's success here, it has to be an absolute, like it has to be because of their depth. You know, people are talking about some of the injuries stuff. Like we saw injury to Farr, we saw an injury to Oro in the semifinals. But I think like if you go down the lineup, like Cambi was huge coming in the double sub with Antropova. You know, Giovannini and Nervini were both massive with the way they played on the left side. Farr came through really strong in the middle, and they didn't have Lubian like they've had in the past, like last year in the summer, to help push them through later on. So Farr and Danesi had to be absolutely huge. I mean, we even saw Forsini come in that fifth set and make a big dig. The way this team plays all together, for me is what makes them the best. Sure, they have some of the best players of all time. Obviously, we have to look at Moki and what she was able to accomplish now, and she is undoubtedly the most decorated volleyball player of all time. She's won literally everything. She's won Olympics, she's won World Championships, she's won Scudettos, she's won Coppa Italia, she's won Champions Leagues, Club World Championships, like you name it, she's won it. Now, this one may be, the past two might be two of the best, as she defeated her husband in both the Olympic finals and, no, sorry, not the Olympic finals, in the Olympic bronze, was it? Never mind. But at least she defeated her husband in this one. And it was absolutely huge. And some people are pointing out that Italy had a few injuries, and absolutely, like no Alicia De Gradi, right? No Lubian as well. But Italy was absolutely dominant, and you kind of love to see it. Talking about this lady here, retiring at the peak, retiring from the national team as a world champion, as an Olympic champion, as a VNL champion. You can't help but admire what she's done. I personally thought she should have been MVP. We'll talk about the dream team in just a little second. Francesca, thank you. And Munax, thank you very much. It was the semifinal. Yeah, Brazil beat the USA in the other semifinal. And then, Brazil beat USA in the other semifinal. And then it was Italy, Turkey in that semifinal. You're right. But the way that this Italian team plays, I think it all stems from Moki. She was only targeted 41 times throughout the entire tournament in serve receive. That's just how good she is. And she also led the tournament in blocks, averaging over 11 blocks she also led the tournament in digs with 81 digs while averaging over 11 digs per set, which is outstanding. And I mean, it's just a credit to how good she has been her entire career, at how many people yeah, you're right. USA did beat Brazil. I'm all over the place with my Olympic stuff. Honestly, last year the Olympics were such a blur because we just watched absolutely everything. But talking about this right now, Moki, 100% the most decorated player of all time. What she's been able to do has been nothing short of astounding, and it really is too bad that we're seeing one of the best ever. But at 38, she's got time to it's her time now to take some time off from volleyball in general. I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity because of the storyline to name her MVP, but whatever. The other person that we also have to talk about with Italy is Julio Velasco. And if Moki is the most decorated and best women's player of all time, then Velasco has to be the best coach of all time. When you look at what he's done over the years, and I mean, somebody put it in the Discord at some point today that the Lube manager years and years ago was should be thanked for bringing him in, because if you look at what he's done for Italian volleyball, I don't think there's anyone better. I truly don't. If you look at the Panini Modena dynasty back at the late 80s, Julio Velasco at the helm. If you look at the golden era of Italian men's volleyball with 2 world championships and a silver at the Olympic Games in the 90s, it's all due to Julio Velasco. Hell, look at what he did with Iran and how he turned that program around from being an absolutely nothing program to winning their first ever Asian championships. And now Iran is a great team who consistently wins and is threats at the younger age groups, and they're only getting better and better. I don't think you can make the argument that there's anyone better than Julio Velasco. He has been absolutely unreal all the way through. And when you look at the rest of this team too, all the way through, far unreal down the middle, so monstrous, especially in that 5th set, the way that she was able to show up at the net. 2 stuff blocks for her, two stuff blocks for Antropova. Sarah Farr was dominant. Same thing with Anna Danesi. She was fantastic too. I think that one of the biggest unsung heroes and maybe one of the most impactful players on this team was also Miriam Silla. She was unreal, especially in the semifinals and finals. I mean, before those matches, she had only ever before those matches, her most points in the World Championships was 8, right? And then in the semifinals, not only was she getting served every single ball, in the semifinal against Brazil, she was served 62 times, okay? And passed 52% positive with a 23% perfect. In the finals, she was served 53 times with a 53% positive, 25% perfect, with 21 points in the semis and 18 in the finals. She is a huge reason why this team won. Now, and we'll talk about the dream team a little bit later. I know a lot of people in the Discord were saying that Silla deserved to be on the dream team. I don't necessarily agree, but I fully agree and will fully say that Italy does not win this title without Miriam Silla. Her timely plays, her timely digs, and of course I don't really know how many digs she made because we don't really stat that on one stat place in volleyball world, of course. Like boomers never played defense, so it's really not that important, obviously. But I wish we had a stat for like impact plays because Miriam Silla was absolutely huge for Italy, and there's no doubt in my mind that they don't win this one without her. But I still don't think that she deserved to be on the dream team. And also rounding it out, Alessia Oro, spraining, like she had a nasty ankle sprain in the first set of against Brazil, and she was able to fight through it. You saw that she was taped in the finals, able to come back, and it was just unreal. Now, okay, well, no, we're going to talk about the best outside hitter for Silla later on, and I agree that Silla was unreal, but I still don't think she deserved to be on the dream team. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. For me, we're just seeing the culmination of the most dominant team in the world. Now, it's really hard to say the most dominant team ever, especially when you're looking at the 90s and the 80s and all those different decades. It's hard to not look at Cuba winning 2 Olympic Games and 3 World Championships in the 90s, and it's really tough. I mean, it was a completely different game back then. It was rally point or side out scoring. There was no liberos. It was a completely different game, and not to mention there was the hype around women's volleyball back in the 90s was not what it is now. Right? There wasn't the amount of teams that are investing the time and money that there was back then. So it's really, really tough to make those comparisons. But when you look at this team right now, there's no doubt that it is going to go down. Like winning this tournament now solidifies them as one of the best teams ever in the world. Now Velasco has already announced, we already know that Moki is retiring, rightly so. And then it sounds like the rest of the starting lineup, at least 5 players are going to be taking next summer off. So that's probably going to be Egonu and Oro and Silla and Denesi and Far. And so we're probably going to see Italy's win streak end in a very anticlimactic fashion. But I don't think that this hurts their chances at continuing to be one of the best teams ever, because if you look at the Grand Prix back in the 1990s, and to be honest, like I'm really only comparing against Cuba. I think volleyball back then was just way different, and it can't really be compared. But Cuba wasn't winning the Grand Prix at a regular pace back in the 90s. They only won one at the beginning, and I think they won 93, and then they won 2000 and nothing in between. But they won the big ones, right? So I don't think that is anything compared to what it is now. And people are saying in the chat that the competition is nothing compared to 2000s Russia, Brazil, and USA. It's way better. I'm sorry. In what world are you guys living in? Like, are you guys like Jordan head fans and be like, oh, the 90s were so much better in the NBA? It's absolutely not. if you look at the training that goes behind these athletes, if you look at what they're able to do, if you look at the amount of teams that are legitimately in there, right? The 2000s, those are the only, like Russia, Brazil, USA, Cuba. Like that's really it. It's really like it. There's so many more teams, and the quality of ball has risen so much since then, that, yeah, you can't really compare to those eras. But if you're gonna sit here and tell me that the teams from, like, if we went toe video game style with the teams from the 2000s and Russia and Brazil and the USA against the teams we have now, I'm sorry, it's not close. It's not. Training is better. Athletes are better. Athletes are stronger. The game is way faster and way better. Don't hit me with the, oh, you can't compare to the teams back then. No, the teams are better. Athletes are better. Women's volleyball specifically is better. And right now, Italy is the best team. But like, you can't even deny it. Their league is the strongest league in the world, right? And they are the best team in what I think is the hardest era. It was more balanced. It absolutely wasn't. There's no way it was more balanced, because after that, there's nothing, right? There's no Japan. There's no Poland. There's no teams like China or France coming up. Now, of course, there is not necessarily an asterisk. You would love to have Russia at this tournament, but that is just not the reality. I think this Italian team has to be considered one of the best. Like, they're now up there with, the Japan in the 60s, Russia in the 70s, China in the 80s, Cuba in the 90s. Italy is now up there, winning their first world championship since 2003. Holding all three of the major titles all at once. This is the best team in the world. And when you look at the quality of this roster too, Germany, France, there's no doubt about it that we saw, and we've seen an absolute masterclass from this Italian program over the past few years. And you know what? There's still a lot of youth in this program. They're still really young. They're the current Club World Champions. They're the current, CEV Champions League champions as well. Italian women's volleyball is the cream, like the cream of the crop, no doubt about it. And it was like it's honestly been a pleasure to get to watch them play throughout this tournament. And yeah, I don't think there's much else to say about it. So we're going to move on now to the second place team in Turkey. And watching this team in the quarters, semis, and finals reminded me of the 2023 Turkey. Reminded me of the focused and scrappy and dominant and emotional Turkey that we saw win a European championship and a VNL back in 2023. This was a team that I really, really enjoyed watching, and I definitely felt for them, especially the way that they played in that fifth set, right? Just coming through, especially after forcing that fifth and just completely breaking down. Your offense breaks down. One of your best players is unable to really score. Your setter can't really deliver the ball, but it really sucks that their entire tournament is really dictated by just one bad set. Because there's a few things that I want to talk about around this Turkish team. And first and foremost, I think Turkish fans need to be so proud about what this team has accomplished. Previous to this, they had never made it past the quarterfinals, right? Previous to this was their best finish at the World Championships was a 6th. So when you look at what this team has done over the years and how they were able to get through it was absolutely impressive. Serbia was the only team to win back-to-back world championships in the modern era. Yeah, but they didn't win the Olympics. So they haven't held all of the same titles at the same time. So that just is what it is. But when talking about this Turkish team, I think there's a few things to note. One, Melissa Vargas, to me, is hands down the best opposite in the world right now. the way that she played in this tournament. This was vintage Melissa Vargas, just putting up numbers after numbers after numbers. It was so impressive to watch. And without Melissa Vargas, this team doesn't make it there, and I make it to the finals. And I know some people have talked about Ida Erdem, and if had they won, she should be MVP. I also had that thought, but it's really hard to argue with a Melissa Vargas who's just dropping, you know, big numbers nonstop. 33 points in the finals, 28 in the semis against Japan, 21 against USA in the quarters, 20 against Slovenia. Right, her tournament average, she was 49% hitting, 39% of efficiency. That is not bad at all. Vargas, to me, like Egonu is dominant, and she can hit OT, and she swings fantastically. But the shots that Vargas has, and I know Key Michael was talking about it throughout the final too. You know, you take away her cross, she's able to go down that line, and her ability to cut down the line too, thumb down, shoulder in, and paint that slide line is chef's kiss. Unbelievable. High OT, cross court, back corner, she can do that. Sharp cross, going that 2-2 cross court, just absolutely unreal. Sure, Ida Erdem is the emotional leader, and her tournament was absolutely outstanding. But what Melissa Vargas did in this entirety of World Championships was nothing short of dominant. Was nothing short as one of the most impressive things I've seen in a long time. But talking about the queen herself and Ida Erdem, what a great decision to keep her off the roster for VNL, to let her get some rest. You know what? She's 38 years old, one of the GOATs of all time. Like, you have to put her as one of the middle GOATs, no doubt about it. But she was in double digits for all of the matches she played. She didn't play the first ones against Spain and Bulgaria, 13 against Canada, 17 against Slovenia, 14 against the USA, 13 against Japan, and then 19, the second highest point score for Turkey in the finals, averaging, you know, just under 3 blocks per set, getting aces. You know, she had 5 aces to only 1 error in the entirety of the tournament. 51 for 74 overall, 69% hitting, 58% efficiency. She was an absolute dream to watch. There's no doubt in my mind that alongside Varga, Ida Erdem is the biggest piece to Turkey's success. And now her ability to lift this team and her leadership is, I don't know if there is, like, I think the next highest person that you think, that I would think and match up with Ida Erdem in terms of her leadership abilities is like Jordan Larson. And to be honest, I don't know if Larson is as good as a leader as Erdem. You know, the way that she's taken on the torch of this team, and the way that she's seen this team grow and change over the years, and has always been the centerpiece of it. Like, to do what she did in this tournament, and to be on the dream team as the middle in this tournament, playing against, like, going up against 20-year-olds in Far and Denesi and Korneluk and Julia Kudis and Diana. Like, these are the best of the best young kids. And not only is she out there staying with them, being more than a decade older than them, she's dominating them. So Ida Erdem, to me, is a huge piece to what this team does. And as much as, you know, there was a lot of talk, especially in the Discord, and there's a lot of been talk about Ebra Karakurt too. And to me, I think you really see the importance of her on this team in the first set against Japan, right? When they get absolutely dummied by Japan in the first set, and she's like 0 for 5 and attacking. And I think the reality is, and Santarelli knows this, and so does Ida Erdem, as some people were saying in the Discord, that Ida is getting to, like she was trying to get Karakurt going. She was trying to get Ebra going and being like, you're good, you're great, and pumping her tires, because they know that when Ebra Karakurt, like, she's a divisive player. When she's down, and she brings the team down. But they have a problem winning without her, right? They really, really do. I saw some people in the Discord, and we had a good chat about it, thinking that, Hande and Aiden Ilkin should have maybe started the 5th. But whenever Hande Baladin is in, you guys complain too. So I don't really know what you want. Like, you can't necessarily have 2 ball control players in, Aiden and Hande out there and really just limit your offense, right? Especially in that semifinal. Once Karakurt started going, that's when things opened up, right? If you just have the one middle, because Gunesh was very average, but if you just have the one middle and the right side, it's really hard to create that separation, especially because Eda likes playing, like going around on the backside. She doesn't really run that front shoot, so it's really hard to create that separation. But once you get Karakurt going and you have the blockers think about her, that's when things open up quite a bit. And I really think that, Santarelli recognizes this. And, it's an absolute, it has to be a gamble. It has to be a gamble when you're putting Ebra Karakurt out there. And maybe you don't need her against the lesser teams, but she's the type of player that you need on the court. And I think that's just one of those locker room dynamics that is just the reality of things. We saw a lot of the times, and I think Stephen Marr mentioned this in my last interview with him that you can find here on this channel, is that, especially in the Discord, we tend to talk about volleyball in almost like a video game fashion, right? And that it's super easy to, just sub out players for who you want and whatever you want. And this is why I think, going back to Velasco, why he's the GOAT ever. Because it's very, very clear to me that there was a definitive decision and discussion within that locker room to being like, Egonu's our number 1, Antropova's our number 2. We're always going to go back to Egonu, right? We're always going to go back to her as our number 1 option. Even if Antropova is coming in off the bench and putting up arguably better numbers, which you could definitely say she was in the final. And I mean, look what she did in the semifinal too, as well. Really turned things around for Italy. I know she got shut down. When was it? In the 3rd set, I think she got blocked 8 times or something. But it was, there's no doubt about it that Velasco had that conversation within the Italian room to say, hey, Egonu's our number 1, no doubt about it, and Antropova's our number 2. And that's just the way they go about it. And, I think when you get down to a World Championships, when you get down to one of the biggest events in the world, second only to the Olympics, you need to make those decisions. You can't be wishy-washy about your roster. And I mean, we talked about that in the past with the Americans too, where there was always just a little bit of wishy-washiness. And yet at their best at the Olympics, they always went with, Annie Drews on the right side. And I think this was no different, right? There was an understanding that there's a big chance that Turkey could lose with Ebra Karakurt on the left side, but there's also a big chance that she was going to be able to win. That not a big chance, but their best chance for winning is with her on the left side. And I don't disagree with that decision. I don't disagree with the decision to keep her in absolutely at all, because you can say so many things about that 5th set and how their offense looked terrible, and how you could have brought in Alif Shaheen earlier to get her some more touches and all of these things. But it was just, a little bit different. And I mean, I see some people talking about, before Velasco. And yeah, I think that, like, if you look back to the 2023 CEV European Championships, that's exactly what happened. There was no clear number 1 starter for Italy. Mazzanti was messing around and, putting in Antropova and keeping Egonu on the bench. And that was the worst we've seen Italy in a while. And there's no difference between that team in 2023 and this team, the team in 2024 and in 2025, right? There's just a more definitive roster and more definitive roles of how things are going to be able to go. And I think that's exactly what Santarelli created here as well too. I think you can be disappointed in his decisions, but from me, having coached before, they were the right decisions, right? I don't think that there was a right decision. I think that if you play Hande Baladin, it might be worse for Turkey, in my humble opinion. What would have happened if Karatasiu was there in the front row? who knows? Who knows? It would have been a really nice double sub to have Karatasu there, bringing in Elif and Karatasu, opening things up. But once again, like, you can't say that other teams didn't have injuries, right? Italy was missing Degradi. Brazil was missing Ana Cristina. She didn't have Nieme either at libero. So it's kind of a thing for absolutely everyone on the injury side of things. The one player that I will be, I guess, a little critical on the Turkish side is actually Gizem Orge. I don't think Orge is that good. And I've talked about it before with her time with the Basha. She is a very average passer for libero, right? She wasn't even in the top 10 or top 20 of positive passers for this tournament. I mean, most of the elite liberos are passing over 60% positive. She's passing 53. Defensively, she's not even averaging 9. She was averaging less than 10 digs per match. And there's none of the elite liberos in the world for any of the top teams who are getting targeted on serve receive like Orge is. There's none of the, like, if you're looking at the top liberos in the world, and I mean, I don't even know if she's in the top 10. I really don't, right? There's no other, top libero who's getting targeted 30 plus times in a match. And at the same time, not necessarily like, does she make some fantastic plays? Absolutely. Right. But every single match, like, she got aced 12 times in this one. And there's not a team that doesn't serve her. She got 22 targets against Canada, 24 against Slovenia, 23 against the US, 32 against Japan. Farhat was just going after her, and 21 against Italy, right? Comparing to Moki, right? She got served more in the semis and finals than Moki did all tournament, right? I don't want my libero getting served. That's how good I want my libero to be. And it just shows how bad overall Turkey is at reception. But if they could find a libero that could solidify their like, because Turkey isn't a defensive team, right? They're a blocking and they're a side out team. If they could find a libero that could at least pass the ball, I think it would be better. I don't know why they don't put in like a Hande Baladin at libero. If she's gonna go over in attacking and not really be effective attacking wise, I don't know why you wouldn't put in a Hande Baladin at libero. Because we know that her passing is good. We know that her defense is good. We know that you can make those changes. And Munex, I know you can't compare Orge to Moki. I'm not even comparing her to Moki. I'm comparing her to like average liberos, right? And when you're looking at the top teams, like when you're looking at like Poland with Shigloska, or like the USA with Hens and Rodriguez. Why am I forgetting her name? I think Orge is an absolutely is a very, very average libero at best. And that is kind of what it is. If they could find someone to step up, I know Akoj is injured, but yeah, like Orge isn't good. Okay. And there's been so many times where, I've been frustrated with her, watching her in both club and country. The other criticisms I saw was for Kanchu Ojbe. That's a really tough one. It really is, especially with how that team played in the fifth set, because they all broke down. Right? Sure, the offense got really, really predictable, but they all just froze up. And the worst thing is the reception isn't terrible in the fifth. They were 64% positive, 29% perfect, but they did get blocked 5 times and with 2 unforced errors. Minus 8% efficiency as a team in the fifth is just not going to get it done. It really isn't. And people are also saying in the chat that Orge covers for Ebrar. Ebrar's numbers aren't terrible. They're not great, but she's still 50% positive and 21% perfect in this one. So overall, I think this Turkish team has so much to be proud of. They're just not quite there. They're missing a few pieces, and they're missing a little bit of that clutch factor. They're missing a little bit of that ability to get the job done when they were when it's needed the most. And I think if you're a Turkish fan, you should be so proud of this team, especially because they looked pretty average during the VNL as well. And yeah, I think that this Turkish team is so much fun to watch, and I love how they fight. And I can't wait to watch more for them, but it just wasn't enough on this day. And you could make a very easy case that, you know, if they were on the other side of the bracket, it might have been a little bit more difficult for them. But at the same time, when you look at where Turkey was 5 years ago compared to where they are now, I think any of them would take it. And this team is really good. Really, really good. Okay. Now, from the finals to the semifinal, or to the bronze medal match, I have to say, this Brazilian team, oh, man, they can't catch a break. 2 5-setters, an epic match against Italy in the semis. And I said a little bit earlier, if they were to compete, they had to compete at the net, right? You had to be able to compete at the net, and that is exactly what they did. 23 blocks for this team in the matchup against Italy in the semifinals, and that's really what kept it in them. There was 2 things. There was their overall play with blocking and defense, because this is a really, really strong team on the defensive side of the ball, both at the net and on the floor. 22 blocks, team blocks, led by 9 by Julia Kudis, and 23 touches overall. But also, when you're looking at this team, Gabi is the best player in the world. There's to me, after what we saw from her in the final 2 matches, there's no doubt in my mind that Gabi is the best all-around volleyball player in the world. You know, what she was like 64 points in the final 2 matches, 29 in the semis against Italy, 35 against Japan. Overall in the tournament, 47% kill percentage, 34% efficiency, 12 blocks, 5 aces. She was the second best scorer in the tournament, I believe, after only Vargas. Yeah, she was the second best scorer overall, third best attacker, one of the best receivers as well too, third best receiver. Digging, once again, we don't have the stats for it, or actually I do, but I just don't feel like, we'll pull them up. She is hands down the best player in the world. I mean, even in that bronze medal game, and Julia Bergman was struggling a little bit, she was pushing Bergman out of the way to go inside, pass that ball, get outside, and then bang balls. And I mean, they started running on some inside balls too, which was absolutely so much fun to watch. But this Brazilian team, you really have to wonder what would be if they had Ana Cristina. Right now, Ana Cristina obviously isn't as good in serve receive, but if Gabi is just going to be passing, and the same thing with Machale, if Gabi and Machale are going to pinch out Bergman regardless in serve receive, then might as well do it to Ana Cristina as well, who is slightly better offensively than Julia Bergman. But overall, on the ball, off the ball, Gabi is the best player in the world. There's absolutely no doubt about that to me. The shots that she has, the intensity that she plays with, the crispness that she plays with as well is just so strong, right? In the semis, she was 63% positive, 20% perfect, while getting 63 attempts. She was 27 for 63 with 2 blocks. And also led the teams in serves. Like, she has no aces, but she has 22 serves. So that means she's going back there and staying back there time and time again. You know, I think, you know, when you look at, like, Turkey has Vargas as their best player, Erdem as their leader, whereas Gabi is both for Brazil. And that's why, to me, she's the best player in the world, bar none, right? There's no doubt about it. And then also too, the way that Brazil plays as a unit, the only country to have over 100 blocks as a team. They led by far this tournament in blocking. They were so strong up at the net. Julia Kudis is the next big thing in down the middle. I did think that she struggled a little bit down the stretch against Japan, you know, especially in that fourth set. She made there's a few missed times, they made a few errors, but she was really able to get it back all together. Same thing for Bergman as well. Bergman really struggled. I mean, she got targeted, 58 times, 58 out of 112 times in the semifinal against Italy. They were just piling it on, and offensively really struggled. 6 for 30 with a minus 10% efficiency. But Gabi really just threw this team on her back and dragged them to this bronze medal match. And I mean, it was the same thing in the bronze medal match. You know, it was a offensive battle between Yoshino and Gabi. Yoshino had 34, Gabi had 35. But the big thing is that Gabi was doing absolutely everything. Once again, she had 25 targets in serve receive, 72% perfect or positive, 36% perfect, unreal numbers, 52% hitting, 46% efficiency, 33 for 63. Once again, Gabi is the best player in the world, and the rest of the team that she has around her is so strong as well. If you were to bring in Ana Cristina, I think it would just really open up things up, and it's really too bad that she wasn't there. But overall, I think that this Brazilian team has so much to be proud of, pushing Italy the way that they did in the semifinals, able to bounce back and win that bronze medal match. One of the best teams to do it, and yeah, it was really impressive to watch. I really enjoyed it. Let me just see what's going on in the chat here. Until Brazil have a legit, reliable oppo, they won't be able to win a gold. Yes and no. I think that they can. You know, I think that we're seeing a few different styles of volleyball right now, because especially like in the top 4 teams, you have 2 teams who are right side dominant, and then, or like right side middle dominant in Italy and Turkey, and then 2 teams who spread the ball around in Japan and in Brazil. And, you know, Japan and Brazil, they play very similarly, right? They play with a lot of skill. They play with a lot of ball control. And I think that just shows that there's different ways to win around that right now. Just because Italy is the most dominant by having really dominant opposites, I don't necessarily think that's just necessarily the way to go. And the only way to go, it just is what is working right now. Because I think it's tough to be able to look at a team like Brazil and be like, oh, if you just had an opposite, because like, where are they going to be able to go get that opposite, right? Where are they going to be able to go get that play? And if you have an opposite, then you're going to be taking some offense away from Gabi as well. So I would like to see what this team looks like with Ana Cristina out there too. If you have 2 legitimate options, like especially if Ana Cristina's on the outside and you have Gabi coming up through the middle on the pipe, that could be real dangerous. And Julia Kudis and Diana as well down the middle. That just really opens some things up. So would it be nice for Brazil? Like if Brazil had a world-class opposite, it might be over. Like they might be better than Italy, because I think, you know, Italy's overall gameplay on the ball, off the ball is really good, but they're not that strong, not super duper strong in reception, not great in serving either. Defense is average. They're really strong at the net, but not as strong as Brazil. And Brazil just plays the game overall. They just don't have as many good options out there. Man, this chat is going off. I can't even follow it right now. So there's so many conversations. And yeah, Fabio, since Tokyo, opposites are dominating. And yeah, it's like if you're looking at, you know, Hawk and Egonu and Antropova and Vargas, opposites are dominating. And if you don't have a good opposite, you're not going to be that dominant. But at the same time, we do see the other side of it with teams like Brazil, with teams like Japan, with teams like the Dutch. Sure, they're pretty right side dominant with Dan Brink being their number one, but they still have a little bit of spread, and and they're able to move that ball around. I mean, in the quarterfinals, all 5 of the Dutch attackers were in double digits. So I think there's a few different ways to play the game right now, and yeah, I don't think it's a necessity for Brazil to have an opposite, a world-class opposite to win a gold, but they do need a little bit more firepower if they're going to want to get by Italy. Although Italy might be different now with no Moki, right? That will be one thing to watch as well. And finally, where did they? Oh, there they are. Finally, to talk about the last top 4 team, I think you really have to feel for Japan. They had the lead. What was it, 24-21? Was it 24-20? Or it was definitely 24-21 in that 4th set against Turkey. And you could kind of tell that's when they stopped playing their game a little bit. That's when they got a little bit tight. And they're like, oh, shit, we're potentially about to push this to a 5th. And it's really too bad. You know, there was a few errors at the end of the match against Turkey, and you know, a few missed digs and missed opportunities I thought from Kojima, and maybe that's why we saw Fukudome come in defensively in that bronze medal match. But you know, when you look at how that team dominated the first set and they were just serving strong, they really served Orge off the ball, and Orge's passing got a lot better in sets 2 to 4. And so did Ebrar's, and Karakurt turned on offensively. She was 0 for 5, I think, in that first semifinal between Japan and Turkey, and then really started to light it up. And then once you're able to open up that offense, it just gives so much more for Japan to think about. Once Ebrar Karakurt is able to start putting the ball away, and you have a Melissa Fargas who's going to score out there and score 28 points and be hitting at a 55% efficiency. But when you look at this Japanese team, to me, there's no doubt about it in my mind that Farhat Akbash should be the coach of the year. Like, Velasco put on a masterclass, no doubt about it. Santarelli does what Santarelli does. But when you look at this Japanese team, and I definitely thought that this team was going to take a big step backwards when they lost Serena Koga. You know, you're losing your number 1 player, and you're replacing her with a 23-year-old Yoshino Sato. And yeah, she's done some great things in the SV League. But did we expect her to be able to come out and score 34 points in a bronze medal game? She scored 29 points in the last 3 sets, right? She had 0 points in the first, 5 points in the second, and then just absolutely popped off after that. No, right? We couldn't have predicted that. Maybe some Japanese fans, if for those who watch really, really closely. But the way that Farhat Akbash has come in and just made this team a little bit more aggressive. And I mean, you can see it too offensively. 6 errors and attacking. Same thing in the bronze medal match. I mean, I think Ishikawa herself made 8. But the way this team, like, I've had so much fun watching this Japanese team play. And maybe it was because I got to see them in person too. But I think that they're a legitimate threat, right? If you don't show up and you don't play your best against Japan, they're going to hand it to you. And right, once again, back in 2021 or 2022, whenever the last World Championships was, right, one of my favorite matches was Brazil reverse sweeping Japan in the quarterfinals. And I think at the same time here, like, I really enjoyed the final, but this bronze medal match was unreal, right? The bronze and the semi, the 2 Brazil matches were just so good. Some of the rallies that we were seeing in that Brazil match was, so good. And I mean, one thing that I really enjoyed about Japan too, especially in that bronze medal match, is that you saw them open up things a little bit, and you saw a little bit of they started to change things up just a little bit, and you saw more of a, NEC Red Rockets lineup when they brought in the backup setter Nagakawa Tsukasa, and she's the setter for the NEC Red Rockets, and like she plays with Shimamura. So in the third, they brought in Tsukasa, Yamada in the middle, and they had always had Fukudome in as the defensive libero, but those two changes specifically, Tsukasa and Yamada, really helped change the tides of that game. Both of them caused problems for Brazil from the baseline. They were both targeting Julia Bergman, and that's when we saw, especially in the fifth, Gabby really push her away to take that first ball. But really, when Tsukasa came in, that's when Yoshino really opened up the offense too, right? 29 points just in those final three sets, with her club setter setting her. And it was good to see a little bit of that depth from Japan and bringing in a few different people. And I think that Fukudome was unreal. There's like a few of the saves that she was making on Gabi and on those inside sets coming in on the X. Gabi's just unloading and Fukudome is just sitting there scooping it up like nobody's business. I mentioned at the end of the semifinal, Kojima let a ball fall that was just out of her reach. And to me, that's a ball she needs to get, especially Kojima. And Fukudome was just making play after play after play. And it was really impressive. It was so good. She kept them alive time and time again, especially in that fourth set. And I mean, remember in the fourth, they started down 0-5. They started down 0-5 and were able to claw themselves back and to be able to make that, get back to, make it force a fifth. So when you look at where this Japanese team was 4 years ago at the World, 3 or 4 years ago at the World Championships to where they are now, losing their franchise player and their best player maybe, in the past few years, in Serena Koga, it is really, really impressive. And I think so much credit has to go to Farhad Dakbas and everything that he did. Sorry, I've just my partner is messaging me about dinner, and we can't we can't talk about that right now. But yeah, overall, like Yoshino especially. Well, there's two players. Mayu Ishikawa is absolutely elite. She can do absolutely everything, and she was like second in scoring. It's on the Discord and I already closed, but like she was third in scoring, like fifth in attacking, like third in digs, like 17th in reception, like fifth in serving, like in every single category, Mayu Ishikawa is there. And I mean, she's only 25. And that's another thing. Like when you look at this roster, when you look at this Japanese roster, like Seki is 26, Yoshino is 23 and is an absolute scoring machine, right? Yoshino has so many different shots. When in Ottawa, I was so impressed by her ability to challenge the block. As soon as the late blocker, bam, she's going down seam or she's going high off hands. But I think you even really saw her, especially in that last match against Brazil, right? Bergman would come in and she'd go long, or the libero would come in and she'd hit that sideline. Her vision just to see what's happening out there is outstanding. And, she led the team in digs in the bronze medal match, and there's still some plays that she's overrunning and not quite in the good position. And once again, she's only 23 years old. So other than Shimamami, who is so good, right? So good as a leader and just shows up, who's 33 years old as well. You've just got so much youth. Surprisingly enough, Airi is one of the older players on this team at 27. But when you look at where this team can go and what they have coming up, I think Japan like is the real deal, right? We saw them with a bit of a flash in the pan get into the top four back in, what was it, 2010 at the World Championships, but then nothing after that. I really think that we're going to see an uplift in Japanese volleyball, and I think that this is just the start, and they're going to be amongst the elite teams in the world. And they have a really, really young roster, and you have to make the argument that they have like the best left side core in women's volleyball, right? With Yoshino Sato and Mayu Ishikawa, and what they're able to do, I think is really, really impressive. And yeah, I really just love the way that Japan plays the game, and I'm excited to watch them some more. Now I want to talk about the Dream Team real quick. Overall, I honestly think they got it pretty right. Like I can't think of another player that they could have had in there. Now, I know a lot of you Italian fans are out there saying that Miriam Silla should have been in there, but at the end of the day, Miriam Silla was a very, very good role player on her team, right? And there's no doubt in my mind that they do not win that gold medal without Miriam Silla. But Mayu Ishikawa was undoubtedly one of the best players in this tournament. You can't doubt that. So some people out there who are being a little bit racist and just being like, oh, the only reason is because they're wanting to make be nice to the Southeast Asian fans. No, that's absolute fucking bullshit. One, we know how this works in terms of the breakdown, that like even the fourth place team gets a member on the Dream Team. That's always the way it's been with the FIVB. So why are we expecting that to change now? But two, statistically, she's up there, right? She's up there as one of the best players in this tournament consistently. I honestly think that she's better than her brother. I think she's the better Ishikawa. So yeah, I'm going to go over this. She was the third best attacker, right? She had 141 points, 1 point behind Gabi, right? 141 points. Gabi had 142. Vargas had 151. The next best player, Egonu, had 129. Ishikawa was averaging 4.41 kills per set. Kills per set with 121 kills, second behind only Melissa Vargas. She was the fifth best server with 8 aces in the tournament. She was the 17th best receiver, passing a 59% positive passing rating, better than Orge, as I said earlier. And I don't have the digging stats, I believe she was third in digging as well too. So I think that like there's no doubt in my mind. Like if I was to make the Dream Team, this is the exact Dream Team that I would make. The only change that I would make is that I would give Moki the MVP. Once again, she led the tournament in digs, averaged over 11 digs per set. And the fact that she's that good in serve receive, that she only got targeted 41 times throughout the entirety of the tournament while playing every single point, is just proves how good she was. And also, you know, with the Italian team being the way they are, and it was such a team win. Like Egonu wasn't great in the finals. Antropova was pretty good off the bench. You know, both middles were really, really good. It just would have been such a great moment. And, you know, so many times we see in like for these FIVB volleyball world events that they go with the political choice and the story choice for the MVP. And this time they didn't. And I think it was a real miss. Like, imagine being able to write that story. Like, the most decorated athlete of all time ends her international career as MVP, and no one would have blinked an eye. Everyone would have agreed. And not to say that Oro wasn't really good. She definitely was. But I think a huge part of the Italian offense was that double sub with Cambi and Antropova. And, you know, you can give a lot of credit to Carlota Cambi and the way that she ran that offense when she'd come into that double sub. And you know, while you needed Oro out there, and I think one of the worst things would have been is that if Oro was injured, that you wouldn't have that double sub. I think that Cambi could have run that offense. Now, would they have won? I'm not entirely sure, but, you know, there was a lot, you know, every match, every set, Oro sat out a few points, and we didn't have that with Moki. So to me, it just means that Julia Kudis for Denesi. Ooh, actually, that's you. Honestly, you guys might be right on that one. Averaged 1.7 blocks per set. She had 30 kill blocks in the tournament, which is like so more. Like Eda Eldem was third in blocking, and she had 20. Gunesh had 19. Denesi had 16. So you know what, you guys are right. I would say that Julia Kudis deserved to be on the All-Star team, but once again, like we know how this breakdown works in all of these things. But just to say, like to me, Moki was the best, like should have been the MVP, and it would have been a really special moment. And I think that was just like typical volleyball world oversight, like not knowing and not understanding the gravity of all of that could have been and what that story could have been. And yeah, it's too bad. But at the end of the day, one thing that I want to know is what conversations happen in the Santarelli De Gennaro household. You know, like, are they back together now? Like, is there pillow talk about this match, or did they not talk about it at all? Like, if I ever get to talk to Santarelli, especially now that Moki's retired, I'd love to know. You know, I'd love to know how that is. MVP of the VNL doesn't matter. I think that's garbage. It really doesn't matter. And Mayu as short as Moki is crazy. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, it's so impressive what Mayu Ishikawa is able to do out there. And once again, I really like Japan just plays in a really pure way. But yeah, looking at this all-star team, Vargas as the best opposite, no doubt about it. Top scorer, she was unreal. Edda Erdem as the top middle, yep, 100%. Gabi and Mayu Ishikawa as the best outsides, yep. Oro as the best setter, yeah, I could see that. Moki as the best libero, 100%. People are saying that they're happy that Moki is retired, and I'm not. I think Moki's still playing pro. Yeah. I think that they kissed and they hugged right after the match. He says that he is so proud of her. De Gennaro will be in LA. No, she's already announced her retirement. Like she has retired from the national team, but she will continue with Imoko. Yes. 100%. But yeah, congratulations to all those on the team. I do agree Julia Kudish should have been the best blocker, but you can only give one of those players from the bronze medal team, and it had to go to Gabi. If it wasn't going to be Gabi, there would be riots, and as it should be. Yeah, as it should be. Now, to finish things off, I'm going to talk about just a few of the matches, I guess, mostly on the earlier stages, like of the quarterfinals, that I didn't get to watch. I'm stoked for the men's tournament because I'm actually going to be around, and we'll be able to get to see it. Where are the quarterfinals? So here they are. So the first one being USA, all five of the Dutch attackers in double digits. Stoot with the only one not in double digits attacking. So you can just see how they spread that offense and move things around. And overall, I think the Dutch should be really, really proud about what they done this summer in general with such a young team. Like having Merritt Jasper and Dalderop and Dan Brink is huge. But the way that Van Allen runs this offense, I think, is the key to everything. And the Dutch are a really impressive team overall, and I love to watch them play. But Japan was just really, really good. And Yoshino, I think Yoshino kind of struggled, especially later on. And once again, she's only 23. She's new to this team. She's not really used to that international level of play. But her ability to turn it on in the bronze medal match was massive. But Wada with 27, Ishikawa with 26. And yeah. Saying that we've never seen dominance like this is crazy. In back-to-back worlds, lost a total of 2 sets in 94 and 98. The team was at the same time 3-time Olympics and 2 times champs. Let's relax. Just like Luke mentioned, they didn't go 36 games in a row unbeaten. 1 and 2. Volleyball's better now. There's better countries now, all the way through. The quality of volleyball now around the world is much, much higher. So I don't necessarily disagree, but I haven't seen anything like this. Most people who watch now haven't seen anything like this. And it's still not done, right? This is an Italian team that, other than Moki, will be back for another World Championships. Will be back for LA. So As I said before, Cuba only won like at the beginning and the end of Grand Prix in that one. And now Grand Prix in VNL really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, we're going to judge teams off of world championships and Olympics. And for the first time in 25 years, we have the same team holding both of the titles, and all three of the titles actually, and also winning 36 games in a row, right? Even in that time back then when there wasn't as much parity, Cuba wasn't doing that. They weren't winning 36 games in a row. So yeah. Oh, my audio is cutting out still. Yeah, Egonu's not that old, guys. Like, she's still got time. And not to mention, you have Antropova. Like, what Antropova was able to do in the semifinals was unreal. Just unreal. But yeah, moving on. Italy, Poland, I thought was going to be interesting. Wasn't. Tried to hype it up. Couldn't. I actually didn't watch this game. It's the only quarterfinal that I didn't actually watch a little bit. I was driving up to camping, and once I saw the score of the first set, I was like, nah, I don't really want to care about watching this. Brazil, France was actually pretty interesting. I think France is a team that can just go balls to the walls and can kind of play at that level. In terms of the growth, France has the biggest growth this year, bar none. The best attackers in the tournament as well. She finished 5th in scoring with 109 points, averaging 4.45 points per set. One of only a handful of players who are averaging over 5 points per set. Uzilac was 5.6. Silla was 5.33. Fatumata Silla, that is, from Slovenia. Isabel Hawk was at a crazy 7.92 points per set, but unfortunately we only played in the... Like, let's give it time with this American team early on. And in this one, to me, it was so clear how far they are from everyone. How they looked like children playing against this Turkey team. And I mean, of course, this is a Turkish team that has gone to, the semifinals of the Olympics and the World Championships now in back-to-back years. But, the U.S. is the U.S. And how many Olympics have they medaled? It was like 5 straight Olympics that they've medaled at. And the reality is, when you're looking at this team, they don't have that much in the closet to go to. Like, everyone says that this is a young team, but like, Jordan Larson isn't coming back. Annie Drews is a big question mark. Lauren Carlini has retired from the national team. We'll see what Justine Wong Orantes come back to. Will we see Jordan Thompson again? In reality, will it make a difference? I don't see her as one of the elite opposites in the world. I'm going to rank her below Akira Van Rijk and below a Stysiak, like a Magdalena Stysiak. I'd below a Wada as well too, right? So, oh, my internet is lagging. That is too bad. Still now lagging. I mute. Oh, I definitely shouldn't be mute. Still now? Am I still mute? Am I still lagging? It says I have excellent connection, and it says I should have sound. But yeah, like, and Kelsey Robinson Cook, I don't know, like, she's another one that I don't know if we're ever going to see on the national team again. And, for so long, people criticized Karch and maybe said that he wasn't making the right decisions, but now I don't know if that's the case anymore. With these young kids coming in, and these are the best of the NCAA. It wasn't long ago, maybe a year or two ago, that I would have told you that the NCAA was the best breeding ground for women's volleyball in the world. And now I don't know if that's necessarily true. They really struggled. And if they didn't have the high seed that they did, I think that, like, I didn't really see them compete with any of the top teams at all throughout this summer. Like, they don't hold a candle to Poland. They don't hold a candle to Turkey or to Japan or to Italy. Obviously, they go to 5 with a young Japanese team, and yeah, like, I don't know if this American team is going to be able to recreate and even be a factor in LA. There's a lot of question marks for me here. They, and I think it comes down a lot to system. There's people criticizing Poulter. I think that they just try to run it too fast. They try to run that gold medal squared, and it doesn't work at the international game. Maddie Skinner was made to look like a fool in that quarterfinal against Turkey. They wrapped her up in set number 1, right? So why, like, I just don't really know what else they have to offer. And now, like, the one set that they did win, it's like they're athletes. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt in my mind that this American team is a bunch of athletes, and they're able to make plays. And we saw Turkey's, like, the biggest lapse in the Turkish mindset and gameplay was in that second set against the USA in the quarterfinals. But overall, you know, Sarah Franklin with 12, hitting only 16%. Like, their offense and overall was terrible in the quarterfinals. 29% kills, 10% efficiency. They did have 11 blocks. But to me, you know, we constantly heard Santarelli talk in the quarterfinals, in the semifinals, and in the finals, don't hit into the block. That's one of the big things that we see from Turkey. They start to get lazy, and they start to get outside of their head. They start to lose their focus, and they start swinging into the block. And that's what we kind of saw there, led by, of course, Chako Bogu, who plays in Turkey and knows all these players well. She led with 5 blocks. But I just look up and down this lineup, and especially on the left side, right side, there's a lot of maturing that's going to need to happen there. I was a little disappointed with Avery Skinner overall. Like, sure, she got a lot of volume in serve receive for with 22 targets, but still not as much as Franklin. And, you know, going 11 for 43, only 9% efficiency. Like, she struggled. Maddie Skinner started both the first and the second, and I don't know why you would start her after the first, where she just got absolutely shut down and couldn't produce at all. And you have a Stephanie Samity, who plays pro and was the best offensive player for the U.S. in the quarterfinals. I think I might have more questions now after the World Championships about this American team than I did before. And yeah, Maddie Skinner needs a few years to play overseas. And I mean, Turkey with 20 blocks is monstrous in a 4-set match. It just shows how dominant they were. But I think we're going to see a part. It's going to be really tough, because a lot of these American players want to play in League One, and they want to play at home. But the quality of play in League One just isn't there yet. And the quality of play, or the style of play, sorry, in League One is still kind of pushed towards the towards the American style, and it clearly isn't translating to the international style right now. They were able to get it done by committee and system, and having really good athletes over the course of the past, number of years, winning in Tokyo, getting to the finals last year, in Paris. But overall, I'm not sure if the States are going to be able to compete at that level anytime soon. And it's going to be really, really, really interesting. And yeah, it looks like all of you are agreeing. Orkin, are you afraid for Alexa Gray? I don't think you really need to be afraid for Alexa Gray. Alexa Gray is someone that's shown that she could play at the international level. And just because she's going to League One, I think there's a big difference. I think there's a big difference for the American players or the North American players, let's say, because now there's a number of our Canadian players who are going to be going to League One. I think there's a massive difference between those players who have played in Europe and have played internationally and know what it entails and know what that game style is like, as opposed to the NCAA players who have only ever known American style volleyball and then are coming into MLV or League One. Although, let's be honest, MLV isn't really. I think Morgan Hens is the only one to have played MLV/PVF. Although Samity was a PVF player the year before, and same with Brianne. But no, Brianne Butler wasn't. Samity played for the PVF before she went to play in the SV League. Yeah, Farhad Akbar should be put in prison for how he treated Alexa at Exasha Basha. Yo, I agree though. And like this is I had such a that's what I had such a so many feelings about Farhad Akbar in the coming into this year's VNL just because of how I've seen things go down with Exasha Basha, but meeting him in person and getting to see him coach changed all of that altogether. And you know what? I'm just going to say that, and I've never really talked to Alexa about this, but I'm sure that there's some other things in there as well, whether it's organizational and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, you've just been coaching a team for so long, and it just gets stale. And also, I will say this about Alexa. I'm not going to say that she's a difficult athlete to coach, but I do think that she's sometimes quiet and doesn't necessarily like kind of like speak up for herself, and then can maybe get a bit of a chip on her shoulder as well. But yeah, I fully agree. I always hated why am I blanking on his name? Piazza. I hated Piazza for how he treated Mar at Milano, and then I hated Farhad Akbash for how he treated Alexa at Exasha Basha, and those are two of like my biggest homies now, like two of the coaches that I love to talk to. I hated Heinen, how he treated Siobhan Vernon Evans in Perugia that one year, and I loved talking to Heinen as well too. So maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the problem. But yeah, back to the US. I am a little worried about what this team is going to be able to produce, and they need to change their style to more of an international style, because this gold medal squared, trying to run it as fast as possible, just doesn't work against the elite good blocking teams. And that's what we saw from the US. Like the US, as they like tumble down the world rankings, it will be very interesting. So yeah. Moving on, do we need to really talk about the other matches? I just say that, like, for me, the semifinals and the two medal matches were outstanding. Brazil Japan was an absolute classic. I loved every minute of it. The way that Japan was able to bring their subs in, unleash Yoshino, and just go at one of the best teams in the world was unreal. And then watching Gabi take over, especially in that fifth set, pushing Julia Bergman out of the way and getting it done. I will have to say, I think that Julia Bergman, like, she made a few key plays at the end of that match too. At the end of the Brazil Japan match in that fifth set. And I don't think they win. Overall, I don't think they win that bronze medal without her. I think that she played really, really well in that fifth set specifically. Let me just pull up her stats here for a second. I mean, she did have 3 points in that third, and especially most of those were towards the end as things were getting nitty gritty. You know, Japan had match points, right? Japan had match points in this one. So, yeah. And other than that, like, you know, we saw two different sides of Chokie in the other semifinal. And then, yeah, we've already talked about the bronze and the gold. So I think at this point, we're just going to answer some, sorry about that. I think right now we're just going to answer some questions on the chat. Bergman choked that shank pass in the fifth set against Italy. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Choke is tough when you're getting targeted and people are going after that. How do you feel about Shannon Windsor at MLV Dallas? I kind of like it. I think that she deserves a chance to go out there and show that what she can do. You know, for all intents and purposes, like, that job of hers as Team Canada head coach was the first time she was really head coach of a team, you know, at that level. Like, it had said she had experience as a head coach, but it was like with development teams in Australia. And I will say this, that like, I know that Shannon Windsor was brought in essentially to work with Tom Black a number of years ago, back when he was running the Canadian team. And essentially when she showed up, Tom Black was like, I have my own guys, you know. But there was some good things with Shannon Windsor there, and obviously some other not good things. Like, there's a reason why she wasn't head coach of the national team, and why they moved on from her. But we already talked about that too much. But I think that Shannon being in the MLV is actually really good. We need more female coaches, right? There's only one female coach in the VNL this year. That was Bulgaria. And I think it's the same thing. And like, she has that international talent, and now she's going to start with a brand new team, and, you know, a new slate for her to try some things. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing for Shannon Windsor to get another opportunity to coach Dallas, especially a new team like that. And, you know, she's going to be one of the few coaches with international experience out there in the MLV. So that's great. How involved was she this summer? I mean, Shannon Windsor is still the high performance director of Team Canada. So she's very involved. Like, she was in Ottawa. She's around the facility. Like, she works hand in hand with Guidetti. And if you go back and listen to my interview with Guidetti way, like, months and months ago, he talks about, you know, talking to Shannon and his respect for Shannon too. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good thing that she's going to get that chance. As well. Let's see what else. Bergman didn't choke shit. She is young to handle the pressure. Brazil just had bad luck that Anna Christina injured. They wasted so many chances though, but everyone chooses to hate Miss Bergman. Yeah, Ronnie, for once I agree with you. And yeah, is there any other questions here, guys? Oh, who has beautiful eyes? I have beautiful eyes. Well, thank you. They look good on this green. My green eyes look good in the green. Ronnie, we're gonna talk about Cuba in the men's like tomorrow and the day after. Okay, so let's just keep it to women's right now. And oh no, I have nicer eyes than Farhat, I think. That's garbage. Fuck you, Orkin. Not actually, but I think I have nicer eyes than Farhad Akbash for sure. Yeah. Thoughts on Lavarini? I think Poland still has a lot of work to do. It's pretty nice to see where they've come, but they still have a lot of work to do. I'm less and less sure about Magdalena Stysiak being an international talent. I think that, you know, she came up really big in a few clutch moments, but she also started those matches poorly. Like, what was it against Belgium? And then who did they play as well? I can't really remember. Was it Germany? Yeah, they played Germany as well. So, or not Germany. Fuck it, I can't really remember. But I wanted to see a big game from Magdalena Stysiak in the quarters, and clearly it didn't happen. So I think that Poland still has a long way to go. They're stronger on the left side with players like Lukashik and Rozanska, Damaska, and those players. But Polish volleyball has taken a massive step forward on the women's side, but still has a long way to go. Yeah, Poland have to do more than blame Lavarini. I agree. Yeah, there's just like Wernerska isn't quite an international level setter yet, and there's just a lot of questions for me around that Polish team overall. How opinions on how Thailand hosts the World Championship. Previous hosts were a bit dead and boring group matches. Like, I think that the Thai fans really showed up pretty much all throughout the tournament. Could have been a slightly bigger stadium, I thought too, but I thought the Thai fans were outstanding. It seems like the vibes in Thailand were really, really high. I know that Key, just what she's been posting on socials, seems like they love volleyball there, and they really, really revere their players and make people feel like they're superstars. So you love that. And then I thought the Thai team did really, really well, just with just some exciting games down the stretch and kept their fans in it. So that was awesome. That was awesome to see. Stishak played like Anna Schmreck. Yeah, and I mean, there's a big difference between those two athletes too. We still have some hope for Anna Schmreck, but if Stishak is playing like her, that's not great. Okay. Well, everyone appreciate everyone tuning in for all this. I know for the women's it was a little bit haphazard, especially with me going camping and missing all of it. And to be honest, after this summer, I'm just really not as motivated as I was before to kind of do and watch volleyball. But after my camping trip last week, I'm very rejuvenated, and I'm actually real stoked for the men's tournament. I'm not as stoked for the schedule because at least the women's, it was just like there was only a couple of like match slots or a few different match slots, so I could watch like the majority of the matches, even though they're earlier in the morning, like 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Whereas for Thailand, like there's a lot of matches at 2 a.m. But I'm gonna do my best to watch it all, and it should be good. I'm gonna have some other stuff. I'm gonna try to be doing videos every day this week to prep for the men's world championships while I work on a few other things. So you guys let me know what you want to see. Yay, nature. Yeah, I did get a lot of nature. I got a lot of nature thrown in my face. I go camping in the fall. I've done it now for the past 5 years, and this was by hands down the toughest. It was cold and rainy the entire time. It was like hovering around 10 degrees Celsius. And then on Friday, one of the days we were moving sites. So like when I'm camping, it's not like I go with my car and I set up a site and like I have my car there. I'm doing backcountry camping. So, it was 5 days, and like on the day one, we load all of our like gear and all of our food and everything into canoes, and we paddle to a site. And we set up our tents there, and you only have what is with you. And another thing too is that where we were in Killarney Provincial Park, which is close, it's not quite northern Ontario, but it's really up there. It's 5 hours north of Toronto. There's no service, so we knew absolutely nothing. And on Friday, as we were moving from site to site, because you want to check out different lakes and all of that, the waves were probably about 1 meter to 2 meters high. And when you're in a canoe that's not even 1 meter high, that's a lot. And they were white capping over. And we actually couldn't even make it to the site that we had booked. We had to stop off at another site and hope that someone didn't show up and be like, hey, we this is what we booked and you guys need to leave. Because afterwards, on the way back, as we were coming out, we found out that there was actually tornado warnings in the area at that time. And there was big swaths of trees like not too far away that had been knocked down. So we were trying to paddle on a pretty big lake in tornado warnings, which was which was a lot. Orkun, rent is due. I mean, yeah, rent is due, but Volleyball Source doesn't really make that much money. And yeah, like the majority of the time, like the time we have our best numbers, which is like VNL, it like what I made during VNL, like what Volleyball Source made via YouTube during VNL is like just barely paid for the expenses of VNL. It doesn't cover rent on top of that. Like didn't really cover food. It covered for like, gas and the hotel. Yeah, it was, it's your passion project for sure. Absolutely. It's been 15 years of a passion project. And why do I do that? I don't know. I don't know. Anna, that's pretty hardcore camping. I mean, yeah, it is like, if you like check out Killarney Provincial Park, it's pretty dope. I'm not in Manitoba. I'm in Ontario. Luckily, there was a lot of wildfires in Canada in general, but I do believe the Manitoba wildfires have have died down. Also, Toronto rent is 2 full-time jobs worth of money. Yeah, it absolutely is. So that's why, yeah, Volleyball Source isn't my. No, not Volleyball Source isn't my full-time job. Well, I guess right now it is because I don't actually have another job. Because, Volleyball World spent months and months and months telling me the job that they wanted me to do and telling me that I was going to be getting a contract literally the next day. Or don't worry, if it's not tomorrow, it'll be next week. Throughout January and February and March. And then in April, they told me that because Finn Taylor had left, they were on a hiring freeze and couldn't actually hire me. So, yeah, I've just been doing random stuff since then. A little bit of Volleyball Source and a lot of camping as well. Well, thank you, Luke. I appreciate you. Yeah, it is sad. It sucked. The stuff that they were talking about doing was going to be really, really fun. But it sucks because Finn Taylor had to leave, and he was the one voting for me to be doing stuff, and they currently don't have a CEO. So, yeah, and I mean, after everything that went down in Chicago, I doubt they'll be reaching out again, which is fine because it probably means that they'll have to. Yeah, that means probably I can just go back to talking shit. And Ronnie, I don't necessarily agree with that. Rob took away Rob. Like, Rob made the decision not to. Yeah, right. It's Rob's decision not to be here. I'm still here, and like the exact same thing happened. And yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really want to talk about it, to be honest. But yeah, like in terms of Volleyball World, maybe one day I'll talk about my experiences working with them, because I do think that there's a lot of good people who work for Volleyball World, no doubt about it. But headless is definitely a way to put it, Ozzy, for sure. And that's why it's too bad that Finn Taylor actually left, because I thought that he was really starting to understand it and understood what was needed, and started, to put the things in place that were needed. And I think he did actually a lot of good things for volleyball in his tenure. Yeah, I thought Canon Live was a soft launch. What Canon? What? Oh, Canon. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I'm definitely gonna do stuff with more stuff with Canon. It was just like where he and I are in a NCAA fantasy together. I've really enjoyed watching his content on TikTok. There's actually a bunch of people that I got to meet by doing that fantasy, and I've not even looked at it. The problem is like in the few weeks since like when World starts, I had like 2 of my best friends got married. We were pretty involved in the wedding, and then we went camping. So it's just been a lot of travel and a lot of like moving around and a lot of other things. So I'm really excited to just be able to like sit down and watch a lot of Men's Worlds coming up. And I'm definitely going to be doing more stuff with Canon and others moving forward. I've always wanted Volleyball Source to be kind of a platform to kind of uplift other volleyball creators, and I do think that's going to be I do think that's going to kind of be a focus moving forward. And yeah, and Everett, don't worry, which is dope name, by the way, real close to mine. I've been doing this for like, I started working in volleyball in 2010. And I've been doing this now for 15 years. So you're actually stuck with me. There's nothing else that you can do about it. I am stuck in volleyball, and much to the chagrin of the FIVB. Because just to, maybe I shouldn't talk about this, but I honestly don't give a shit. My conversations with Volleyball World about the whole Chicago incident was, this was out of line. Please don't do this again. Whereas it was an FIVB decision to pull our passes. from my understanding, right? I was talking to some people quite high up within volleyball world. I got a message from them this morning, and I know that some people, I do have no other skills. That's actually not true. I do have quite a few skills. I'm a pretty good bartender, and I could do a lot of things. And like I'm applying for other jobs right now. But yeah, like volleyball world, I will say, actually defended me and us in that moment. But yeah, it kind of is what it is. Everett has no other skills. Ozzy, don't sewer me like that, bro. Okay, this whole podcast or chat has really taken a turn, and oh, I know you're just joking. Don't worry. I don't take you fools seriously. And I mean, you support us enough with how often you comment on shit that there's I know it's all love. Raise your Caesar. Yo, a Caesar would be really, really, really good right now. But all that being said, I love you all. Thank you for listening to me ramble about this. And we'll be more dialed in for sure. We're going to be more dialed in for the men's World Championships. I think we're going to start it off tomorrow with maybe a bit of a tier list. We're going to tier list some of the countries playing, okay? Libya is going to be an S tier for sure, all right? So I love you all. Have a great night, and goodbye.